Of Equinoxe Television, thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. He is accused by many of his victims of being a serial rapist. A certain Hervé, who is now popular on different social media platforms, is under scrutiny by his supposed victims who testify of his violent acts. Reacting to the numerous complaints received, the Commission of Human Rights Defenders of the Cameroonian Bar, in a letter addressed to the Attorney General of the Yaoundé Court of First Instance, demands that investigations be launched so as to shed more light on the matter. I'll be getting some of the testimonies in the course of this newscast. And France-based media organ TV5 Monde apologizes to Cameroon for using a flag which had striking resemblance to the Ambazonia controversial flag to represent Cameroon during an AFCON program. Their reaction comes after the National Communication Council (NCC) demands an explanation about the flag used to represent Cameroon. The management says the flag was used by an intern and it was not deliberate. We have details of these and more in the course of this newscast. Stay with us for details. Diplomatic relations between Yaoundé and Paris have fallen into hot waters following a mispresentation of Cameroon by Paris, France-based international news organ known as TV5 Monde. In one of its news programs, 64 Le Monde en Franchise, the news organ attached Cameroon to a flag linked to the Ambazonian separatist movement in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, an act that provoked a barrage of strong-worded reactions from Cameroonian authorities. Femi Armstrong Sanda has the details.
Threat to Yaoundé-Paris relations, dubbed the Flag Affair, began with this video on the French-based international news channel TV5 Monde on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2023. In its news summary table of matches of the ongoing African Cup of Nations, TV5 Monde attached the name of Cameroon to a flag completely not a Cameroonian flag, but rather a flag linked to the Ambazonian separatist movement in the English-speaking northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. On the tabulation, TV5 Monde attached a white flag decorated with light blue stripes surrounded by stars, a flag completely different from the green, red and yellow color flag of Cameroon, decorated with a yellow star on the red stripe. Immediately after the broadcast, an extract of the video went viral on social media, provoking a barrage of reactions from the government of Cameroon, which didn't see it funny. From the National Communications Council to the Cameroonian Embassy in Paris, France, and then the Minister of Communications, the government of Cameroon rose strongly, condemning it in its strongest terms. René Emmanuel Sadie of Communications says the government of Cameroon expressed its indignation and strongly protests against this serious, unacceptable and intolerable mistake committed by a media outlet of the statue of TV5 Monde. Speaking further, he revealed that the government of Cameroon demanded an immediate rectification of the unfortunate blunder which planted confusion in the minds of nationals and international opinion, and has taken steps with the channel to prevent any recurrence. Recognizing a lack of vigilance in the production chain, TV5 Monde presented its most sincere apologies to Cameroon, but also to Guinea, whose flag was also wrong in the table, and announces that it will scrupulously use the one and only flag, green, red, yellow, with a yellow star for Cameroon.
And now we take you to the northwest region, where armed individuals, allegedly armed separatist fighters, have attacked one of the bases parking of Burns Construction Company in Kife, Nous subdivision, northwest region, resulting to enormous material damage. Local sources say that the armed attackers stormed the area at about 2 a.m., burning down 2 compact tracked loaders. Other vehicles had their tires, windshield and engines shattered by the bullet. A local source cites the security man on duty, who revealed that the attackers were all speaking the same dialect, identified as a dialect spoken in neighboring division to Dongamantum division. Burns is the company executing works on the ring road stretch linking Biet to Kumbo in the Bui division of the northwest region of Cameroon. And away from that, we now talk education, as educationists and civil society actors express concerns about the high rate of violence in school milieus in Cameroon. According to them, parents and teachers need to put hands on deck to help these students. It is within this backdrop that administrative authorities of Government Bilingual High School in Brazzaville have decided to adopt new strategies to tackle cases of violence, as classes are yet to effectively resume at Government Bilingual High School, the Tugebe Yaoundé Central Region of Cameroon, few days after the stampede which led several students injured. Asia Lucy Liengo visited the school and health center where some students were admitted and compiled the following report.
Few days after the stampede, which occurred in Government Bilingual High School at Tugebe on the 22nd of January 2024, classes have timidly resumed as several benches remain empty. Despite the low turnout of students, the principal says she is positive that things will come back to normal.
Les cours ont commencé déjà, les élèves sont là.
Classes have resumed. Students, teachers are present, administrative personnel at their duty post. We hope that, as from tomorrow, everyone will be present.
Et demain, tout le monde va être là.
Despite the presence of security forces on campus, the aftermath of the violence is still visible. The principal urges absentee students to resume. Those who are still at home are reminded that classes have resumed and soon will begin the fourth sequence examination. Even those in examination classes are also called to resume because end-of-year exams are fast approaching. The principal adds that those who were injured are gradually regaining their health and some have already been discharged from hospitals.
La plupart des élèves qui étaient à l'hôpital sont rentrés à la maison, sauf deux qui sont encore dans la situation observation.
Beside Government Bilingual High School at Tugebe is a health center which received some victims.
Nous avons reçu 8 élèves. Ils allaient vraiment mal.
Here we received about 8 students who had a malaise and trauma. They are fine now. The only case we referred to Vong Betsy because the girl needed oxygen.
Elle avait besoin d'oxygène.
According to official statistics, 168 victims were registered, and on the same day, 135 were discharged from health facilities where they were receiving treatment.
And in the same vein, educationists and civil society actors expressed concerns about the high rate of violence in school milieus in Cameroon. According to them, parents and teachers need to put hands on deck to help these students. It is within this backdrop that administrative authorities of Government Bilingual High School in Brazzaville have decided to adopt new strategies to tackle cases of violence on campus. A campaign was also launched to help sensitize the students on the consequences of violence. Malaglari reports.
The rate of violence in secondary schools in Cameroon is alarming. Physical violence is the most commonly practiced form of violence carried out by students on their fellow peers. It involves aggression, the use of weapons, as well as criminal acts such as theft. In a way to limit this growing phenomenon, administrative authorities of Government Bilingual High School Brazzaville, Douala 3, have chosen a pedagogic option to punish the children while educating them.
When we had a good number of students who came late, so we thought of, instead of asking them to maybe clean, pick papers and all of that, we thought it wise to maybe ask them to write a poem. And you know, most of them wrote very interesting poems about violence, so we asked them to write on that, and it was an indirect way for us to sensitize those students.
This was during a sensitization campaign organized in the school campus to create awareness.
What I know about violence is that violence is something that you should not be glad of it because it destroys people's mental and physical thoughts.
Violence does not only destroy the child's moral behavior or the mental health problems, but equally affect their education. Parents are therefore called upon to play their role.
As parents at home, I think that's where the main problem even comes from. Because some of those students, most often they have maybe very poor education, moral upbringing from the various families. And we really have to maybe call on the parents, especially call on society to help in educating those students. We must not abandon everything in the hands of the teachers.
Parents and guardians should caution their children on the dangers of indiscipline and violence, while teachers should correct their students with love.
And now to our human interest page. The lifeless body of a man in his 40s was discovered in the early hours of today at a place known as Ponkasein Makepemisoke, Dwala 5 subdivision. According to some neighbors, Goa Alexander Itowe disappeared since Monday evening. Details of this report with Cedric Chakutio.
The lifeless body of a man in his 40s at Makepemisoke, Dwala 5 subdivision was discovered early on Thursday in a state of decomposition. The body was discovered after the neighbors forced his door. This morning, some neighbors came asking for him. We even knocked his door, but no one responded. So while someone was calling the landlord, others called the police. And when they came, we forced the door and discovered his body lying on the ground. Teacher in a private school, Go Alexander Ito, disappeared since Monday evening.
But the last time we talked was on Monday evening, because I gave him a class. We needed to talk on how many days he will be coming to teach the class, and maybe the cost of the price. I have been following up, but he is not picking the phone. Even this morning I called him, he was not picking. So I told the parent that I will get back to her. That is what I had. Now this morning my wife just called me and said Mr. Ngo is dead. I said, which of them? He described, and I called my uncle to confirm.
According to some neighbors and colleagues, Mr. Ngo did not show any sign of sickness, neither had problems with a friend or member of his family. He never manifested any sign of illness. He never came to me talking about a specific problem. He always paid his rent on time. I am really confused. For now, the reasons behind his death is still unknown.
And now to one of our major lead stories. Women call on the Cameroonian authorities, including the Minister of Territorial Administration, Defense and the Delegate General for National Security, to take quick action against perpetrators of ills against women. A case of alleged sexual abuse on more than 50 women by a single individual has triggered a nationwide indignation. Babila Jonathan tells us more.
Petition against ills perpetrated on women in Cameroon. A group of 20 women have gone to war in the face of rising gender-based crimes. They have been provoked by the latest case of over 80 accusations of sexual abuse and other crimes against an individual and similar situations.
This is a very frightening case, but it is a national case. That's why we wrote this letter today to send it to authorities in Douala in Cameroon.
The right defenders are marching to the Littoral Governor's office to press for solutions from the authorities.
The femicides which have been reported since last year and to date. Number two, the case of Lucy Sime, who was sequestered by her husband, the parliamentarian Pierre Sime, and who has disappeared today. And three, the case concerning Mr. Eve Bobda, who is accused of being a sexual predator, somebody who has threatened people with an arm, somebody who has carried out kidnappings, and somebody who is accused even of murder.
They are determined to go the extra mile should authorities remain silent.
The silence of the Cameroonian authorities is unacceptable. Our government should constitute itself as a party in these cases and begin investigations immediately. 2, that the government should take action to protect the victims.
Their silence is too much. So the next step, you will be informed, and we no longer stay quiet. There will be action.
2 lawyers, barristers Fous Dominique and George Mazi, have filed a lawsuit against the alleged sex predator at the Douala Military Court.
And now in the report coming up next, we tell you about the plights faced by several inhabitants of the city of Douala, whose roads are in a very bad state. The city mayor is now striving to upgrade some of the roads, especially in the Douala 5 subdivision. Once more, Babila Jonathan reports.
Several roads in the Douala 5 subdivision are in a bad state. This one, linking Lendi and Logbesu, is one of the most difficult roads to go through, especially in the rainy season.
Elle est vraiment impraticable, quelle que soit la saison.
Donc quand tu ressors, tu dois d'abord passer chez le mécanicien.
And this section is not only difficult but also dangerous because of the deep man-made rift on both sides of the road.
Les gens ont creusé pour aller rembler le terrain.
The Douala City Mayor Roger Mbassandine is on the ground to evaluate the work to be done to improve on the state of the road.
The first challenge is to be able to build the road in this kind of places where, if you see behind me, you will see what challenge we have. It is enormous. But we are confident that the company that we have chosen will be able to do that, because it is not the first time that this company is working on this kind of project. We hope that in 2 years we are going to complete the works. The project is about 11 billion.
Several houses constructed close to the road will be destroyed along this road and other parts of the town where road construction works will soon begin.
If they are land titled, we are going to take some administrative measure to free the place.
He is also inspecting the construction of a relocation site for traders whose shops were demolished over 2 months ago at the Douala Central Market.
Those people are going to come here.
And my quest to know why the relocation site is being constructed months after the demolition exercise will have no response. Meantime, Mayor Roger Mbassandine says the market will be ready for the traders to begin doing business here, February 8, 2024.
And we now move to our health page as Public Health Minister Dr. Manauda Malachi invites Cameroonians to invest in the health sector so as to better ensure better services, which will go a long way to improve the healthcare sector and grant universal coverage for all. He was speaking during the 154th session of the Executive Council of the World Health Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. Innocent Aze reports.
The 154th session, the Executive Council of the World Health Organization expressed concern about the emergence of non-communicable diseases in Africa. Death rates in the continent stood at 37% in 2019. A study carried out in 2022 in 7 African countries indicates that between 50% and 88% of deaths are due to pathologies such as cancer, cardiovascular diseases, and diabetes. Cameroon is no exception, with 74,000 deaths in 2022. An entire program has been put in place to enhance behavioral change, being it on the aspects of feeding, social or environmental impacts. According to results of a study carried out in 33 countries on the continent, by 2030, these non-communicable diseases will be deadly more than AIDS and malaria. It is important to indicate that innovative integrated financial mobilization is essential for the prevention of these non-communicable diseases. We thus recommend effective participation of the private sector in our countries. Concerning the universal health coverage, if many countries in the world are already advanced, the World Health Organization wants to reach 1 billion additional people to benefit from this program at a lower cost by 2025. This put experts and analysts during the Geneva session. Since health is regarded as an essential prerequisite for development, African countries must invest in the health sector. The World Health Organization's Executive Council therefore recommends the development of a strategy and an action plan for integrated emergency and surgical care over the period 2026 to 2030.
And let's dive straight away to our sports page as referees participating at the African Nations Cup in Côte d'Ivoire say their work hasn't been very easy for them since the start of the tournament. The referees also say that they are shocked with the outcome of the tournament. The referees had an open day which enabled journalists at the tournament to see how the referees prepare before any match day. Smajikan Gabriel, a reporter on special assignment, gives us details in the following report straight away from Abidjan.
This at the Sol Beni Asek Mimosas training ground that all 68 referees participating at the 34th edition of the African Nations Cup do their preparations before any match day. With the competition on a recess for 2 days, journalists covering the soccer jamboree in Côte d'Ivoire were given an opportunity to see how these referees prepare before officiating games. The Confederation of African Football CAF has baptized and given the name Open Day for AFCON referees. Ethiopia's Bamlak Tesema Weyase, who handled the Gambia versus Cameroon encounter, says it hasn't been easy on them.
It's more difficult one, as you see, all the group stages like round 16, or you can say like a final each games. So we are preparing like that in a very incredible manner. With it's like a university. You cannot find here what we are preparing in CAF.
Amongst the referees called up by the Confederation of African Football CAF is Cameroon's Guy Elvis Nupwe, who says whatsoever he gets as innovation during any tournament, he transfers to the local football authorities at home.
I share with the local instructor, I share with the REFCO member of the FECAFOOT, so they can also implement it on our local preparation.
During the open day for referees, rehearsals were also made on the reading of images from the video assistant referees. VAR, the head of the Referees Commission in CAF, says many innovations have been made. We have based our attention on the young men coming up because they are the future of Africa. With them, we could go very far. We opted to make the refereeing corps younger and secondly, to bring it to an international standard. The level of our referees can now be compared to others in different continents. The referees who are also on temporal break will resume work this weekend when the knockout phase of the AFCON begins.
And we stay in sports as the first round of AFCON matches ended on Wednesday with the last group of matches played. At the end of the first phase, 88 goals were scored with over 80 red cards or cards distributed by the men in black. Smajikan Gabriel comes back to the statistics of how the game went on. We'll come back to this report done by Smajikan Gabriel, where he'll be telling us about the first round of AFCON, which ended on Wednesday, and with last group matches played. At the end of the first phase, 88 goals were scored with over 80 cards distributed. Smajikan Gabriel tells us more.
After the end of the first round matches of the African Nations Cup in Côte d'Ivoire, 36 matches have been played with all 24 teams playing 3 matches each. A total of 88 goals were scored during the first phase of the tournament, with 9 of the goals scored from penalty spots, giving us an average of 2.44 goals scored per match. 15 matches ended in a draw, with 2 having no goals scored. 7 matches ended on a 1-1 draw, while the most prolific game ended in a 6-goal thriller, and that was the encounter that pitted Equatorial Guinea to Guinea-Bissau. We saw Equatorial Guinea defeating Guinea-Bissau by 4-2. Equatorial Guinean captain Emiliano Insue ended the group phase of the competition as top scorer with 5 goals. In a whole, during the first round matches of the AFCON, 144 cards were given by the referees, with each match having at least 3 yellow cards and 4 red cards in a whole. The 8 final matches start this weekend with mouth-watering encounters on schedule, beginning with the Nigeria versus Cameroon game, then 2 West African derbies, Senegal versus Cote d'Ivoire and Mali against Burkina Faso.
And that sports element all the way from Cote d'Ivoire ends this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on ETV. Have a wonderful evening.